The Tennessee Titans had a ton of interviews for general managers over the weekend. I'm going to tell you who would be the best hire on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and get started with $200 in bonus bets if you win or lose that first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. On today's episode, we're going to bring back one of my favorite games, Hype, Happy, and Hate. I'm going to go through all of the general manager candidates that the Titans interviewed over the weekend and rank them in those tiers. The ones I'm hype about, the ones I'm happy about, and the names that I don't quite like as much. And at the end of the show, I'll talk for a second about Mike Vrabel being hired by the New England Patriots. But before we get into all of that, I do want to thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. You're not going to beat that anywhere else. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. And speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. And right now is a great time to become an everydayer of the show because we got a lot of news. It's going to be coming out. It's going to be a crazy off season. You don't want to miss a single second of the free content that I will be bringing you all season long. But with that being said, tons of interviews over the weekend for the Tennessee Titans. I think they had 9 interviews, and then we finally got another request for an interview with my top candidate, and that is where we will start with our hype tier. These are the general manager names that I would be hype if the Tennessee Titans hired. We start with John Eric Sullivan, what's the official term? The vice president of player personnel, I guess is the correct term to call John Eric Sullivan in Green Bay. But he is my number one candidate for the job that I think realistically makes sense. Again, I really like the next name that we're going to talk about, but I don't think that he would be as interested in the Titans job, but we will see, I guess. But John Eric Sullivan is my top candidate. Again, vice president of player personnel from Green Bay. He is a football lifer. His dad has been a coach in the NFL for a long time, works with wide receivers. He actually works with Justin Jefferson. That's a fun nugget right there about John Eric Sullivan's father. He's a great evaluator. JES. It's just so simple. It's just so easy. I love it. But he's the one who found Jordan Love for Brian Gutekunst in Green Bay. He's done scouting. He's done cap. He's done draft. He's done free agency. He was involved in the coaching search when they hired Matt LaFleur. So he's a guy with a lot of versatility who's a young gun who worked with Chad Branker for 13 years in Green Bay. So he's a guy who is going to be ready to prove himself. And I talked about this at the end of last week, and I like to, go back over these things for folks. So we're all on the same page here. But if this GM job for the Titans isn't just a glorified college scout, if it truly is a general manager job and Chad Branker is more of a CEO guy who just kind of clears everything, not where Chad Branker's actually being the GM like we all, thought immediately when Rand Carthon was fired as, Branker is in charge. He's basically the general manager. This position is an assistant general manager position, right? That's basically what the conversation was and what it felt like for the Titans. But if that's not true, and this really is a true GM job, and Chad Branker is not just, looking for a puppet, then I think having a guy with a versatile skill set like John Eric Sullivan, who obviously has that specialty in the draft and evaluating players, but also does understand the cap mechanics. Being involved in a coaching search, might need that next offseason or halfway through the year. So having a general manager who is that college specialist, but also is somebody who has knowledge of how the other things work, I think that would be best for the Titans if the general manager job is a true GM job, like, we aren't certain of right now. So John Eric Sullivan got an interview request. He hasn't done his interview as of this recording, but he did get requested, and that is my top candidate. Another guy that I would be hype about is Mike Borgonzi from Kansas City. Obviously, Kansas City has just been an incredible organization for quite some time now. Even before Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City did well with draft and develop. Think about the Alex Smith Kansas City Chiefs. That's a well-run organization that knows what they're doing. Borgonzi is the assistant general manager in Kansas City. He's been in KC for 16 years, going from being a scout to director of player personnel to director of football operations, all of that stuff. So Mike Borgonzi would be a great candidate. But like I was saying earlier, if the Titans general manager job is what we think it is, and it's just assistant to Chad Brinker, I don't think that Borgonzi would be interested. So if Borgonzi ultimately is hired by the Titans, I think that tells us a lot about what the GM position actually entails. But those are my top two candidates. I also really, really like Terrence Gray out of Buffalo. His interview was on Saturday. Borgonzi was on Sunday. So those have taken place already. But you look at a guy like Terrence Gray. You want a college specialty. You want scouting specialty. The director of player personnel from Buffalo, Terrence Gray, would be an excellent choice. He is a college scouting expert. He spent 11 years as a scout for the Minnesota Vikings, cutting his teeth. He is that college expert. Now, does he have the versatility of a guy like John Eric Sullivan that may be required for the job? That's something to wonder about, but Terrence Gray really hammers home the college specialty that the Titans are looking for with this spot. So I really like Terrence Gray from Buffalo. John Spytek from Tampa Bay did his interview with the Titans on Friday. He is the vice president of player personnel for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was a college scout. He was a pro scout, a director of college scouting as well, a national scout. He's gone from director of player personnel to assistant general manager, where he's at right now for Tampa Bay. I think John Spytek would be an excellent hire for the Tennessee Titans. Just so much experience. He's got the specialty of scouting that you want, projecting players from college to the pros, which is something the Titans literally said publicly in their job description comments after Rand Carthon was fired. So John Spytek, another great name for me. So for me, that is my hype tier. Those are the names that I would be hype about. John Eric Sullivan, Mike Borgonzi, Terrence Gray, John Spytek. Those are the top four guys for me who I would be most excited about for the Tennessee Titans. But those aren't the only candidates that I would like for the Tennessee Titans. Again, it's hype, happy, and hate. So I'm going to tell you candidates that I would be happy about if the Titans signed. And of course, we'll talk about the candidates that I maybe wouldn't be so happy about as well. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Growing your small business in 2025 comes down to how well you can hire, kind of like the Titans. And let's face it, better hires start with smarter insights. That's where LinkedIn comes in. With the strong hiring data available, LinkedIn helps you identify the right candidates, giving you the confidence to make the best decisions for your business. I've used LinkedIn Jobs myself, and I can tell you it's a game changer. Small businesses are wearing a lot of hats, so every hire is crucial. LinkedIn gets that, and that's why you connect with the best candidates on LinkedIn using data that you won't find anywhere else, from unique skills to interests to connections you share. LinkedIn helps you find the right person for the job. In fact, 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn has helped them find high-quality candidates. I know from experience how important it is to make the right hiring decisions, and having access to insights like what skills candidates have or how connected to your network they are, that can help you feel confident. Hire smarter this year and find your next great hire on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. Today's episode is also brought to you by Prize Picks. It's playoff time, and if you're like me, you want to make the most of these final weeks of football action. That's where Prize Picks comes in. If you love football and want a chance to win real money watching the games, Prize Picks is the place for you. It's the best way to turn your sports opinions into cash with daily fantasy player projections. Prize Picks simply asks you to pick more or less on player stats, like total passing yards or rushing touchdowns. For a shot to win up to 1,000 times your money, you can make your picks in less than 60 seconds. PrizePicks has you covered, and they have over 10 million members and billions in winnings. It's clear that people are loving PrizePicks. I've been playing for a while now. I'm having a blast. I like Josh Allen more than 25 rushing yards, or Saquon Barkley more than one touchdown. It's so easy to use, and I love how fast the payouts are. Here's a special offer for Locked On Titans listeners. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It's PrizePicks. Run your game. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast, breaking down the general manager candidates that the Tennessee Titans interviewed over the weekend, ranking them in tiers. I did my hype tier with John Eric Sullivan, Mike Borgonzi, Terrence Gray, and John Spytek. Now I want to go into my happy tier because I feel like a lot of discourse nowadays online, there is no happy tier. Like you're either super hype or you're angry and you hate the decision. There's no middle ground anymore. But that's exactly where I'm at with the names that we're about to go over. Like, am I, on here? Yes, this is a great hire. Absolutely tremendous. Blah, 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 blah. Not quite. But I'm also happy. I'm just happy. It's just a good move. It's not a home run. It's just a nice double into the gap. Good move by the Titans. Can't be mad about it. That's the next group of candidates. That's how I feel about them. So just want to make sure that people understand. It seems pretty clear: hype, happy, hate, but still like to nail that home. Now, before I get into the names, thanks again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Shout out to my everydayers out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one, especially right now, because there's going to be all kinds of crazy Titans news all the time. But the next name on my list is Thomas Dimitroff. He interviewed with the Titans on Friday. Thomas Dimitroff is a very kooky character looking wise. He's got crazy hair, kind of looks like a bird. I don't know. He's a crazy looking dude, but he is a proven good general manager. Is he a great general manager? That's up for interpretation, but he is a good general manager. Super Bowl appearance with the Atlanta Falcons, had 6 playoff appearances with the Atlanta Falcons. He's a guy who has been able to identify talent. The problem is he didn't find enough talent on the defensive side of the ball. I think that's really where Atlanta Falcons fans would put their foot down and say, hey, wait a minute. There was a reason that he was fired. It wasn't like we fired some savant general manager, and he hasn't been hired by an NFL team yet. He hasn't had an opportunity come up yet. He's done some interviews and things like that. Look, I think Thomas Dimitroff has great experience. And I think that after somebody like Rand Carthon, who was so green, you know what I mean? Like they were just so brand new to being a general manager, didn't really understand everything that it entailed, it sounds like, from all the reports. Going the opposite direction of a brand new general manager who's never done it before, going to Thomas Dimitroff, who's been a general manager for a long time in the NFL previously and is an experienced guy. I think that does make a lot of sense. Now, again, there are people in Atlanta who would tell you that he is not a great general manager, that he was just a good general manager. And the inability to identify defensive talent in the draft ultimately was his undoing in Atlanta. He was able to find good offensive linemen, good skill players. You know what I mean? He was able to do all of that, but the defense really suffered. So, I don't cover the Atlanta Falcons. I'm not an Atlanta Falcons fan. I wasn't paying attention and criticizing and critiquing every move that Thomas Dimitroff made while he was the general manager for the Atlanta Falcons. So I can't sit here with absolute certainty and tell you, he's great, he's bad, but he has proven through time that he is a good general manager, and he's good, he's experienced, and it's a safe choice for the Tennessee Titans is what I would call it. And that's why he's in my happy tier. I would be happy if the Titans hired Thomas Dimitroff. I wouldn't be hyped, but I would be happy. And another name on that list is Ian Cunningham. Now, I like Ian Cunningham quite a bit. And as I mentioned, he was my top option for general manager in 2023 when the Titans ultimately hired Rand Carthon. Now, I like Ian Cunningham. He's got that scout background as well, got that college specialty. He's the assistant general manager right now for the Chicago Bears. The Titans interviewed Cunningham on Sunday, so that's happened. Here's the only thing. I guess I worry about coming from the Bears. It's not Ian Cunningham's fault, and he spent a lot of his time in Philadelphia and Baltimore. So it's not like he's a Bears product. But he's been with the Bears for 3 years, and it's just been questionable. Like, I'm looking at the coaching hires. Matt Eberflus, Shane Waldron as offensive coordinator, Thomas Brown being the interim this year. Like, the Bears are just a poorly run organization that doesn't do things the right way, and they've made questionable decisions. Like, if he was involved in that trade for Chase Claypool, where they literally gave up a second-round pick for Chase Claypool, is Claypool even in the NFL right now? No, I don't believe so. So I guess the Bears have made some questionable decisions as of late, and there's dysfunction in the organization, and I guess I just worry about how that has impacted Ian Cunningham. So that's why I'd be happy with Cunningham. I like him as a general manager candidate, but there are just some things in the back of my mind that make me wonder. You know what I mean? They give me some pause. Let's just say that. Next, Ed Dodds, assistant general manager for the Indianapolis Colts. He was interviewed on Saturday. So I like Ed Dodds. Again, comes from Indianapolis. He was a national scout for the Seattle Seahawks. Came to the Colts in 2018 and kind of rose up the ranks a little bit. Here's what I worry about. The Colts are so conservative as a franchise. Is Dodds on board with that? Was Dodds on board with the Colts all season, this last all season? Was Dodds one of the people who is unable to find a quarterback solution? Did Dodds want Anthony Richardson? Like, also the Colts, their team is like fighting with each other, fighting with their fan base, fighting with Pat McAfee on TV. Like, there's just a lot of shakiness with the Colts franchise right now, and their philosophy over the last few seasons of, oh, we like our guys, you know, we're not going out and making any moves. We're just going to re-sign people on our team, and we're not going to improve. And we're going to be, I don't want the Titans. Rand Carthon got super aggressive and spent all the money and blah, 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 and whatever. You know, like, again, as I said during that last offseason, the Titans don't have anybody else to pay. So you'd just be setting the money on fire if you didn't spend it. Like, there's a salary cap floor, too. You got to spend a certain amount. So I don't really mind. I don't think it hurt the Titans in any way to spend all that money. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to go the other way. I don't want to be too conservative. I don't want to be a franchise that does nothing. You know what I mean? Find the middle ground. And what's Dodd's thoughts? Ed Dodds, what's your thought on Chris Ballard doing absolutely nothing in free agency and running back a team that didn't even make it to the playoffs? Like, I don't know. So Dodds is a good name, but again, I'd just be happy, not hype. And then the final name is Matt Berry from Seattle. Good scouting staff there. They've drafted, they've developed, they've done a good job. So I like Matt Berry as an option for the Titans. Seattle's just okay. You know what I mean? Like, they've done a good job. It's not Kansas City, Green Bay, Buffalo. Like, it's not quite on that level. Now, what I will tell you is Matt Berry is a college specialist. Like, he has a ton of background in scouting, which is, you know, what the Titans are ultimately looking for, right? He was a college regional scout, national scout, director, senior director of player personnel now. He is considered somewhat of a college guru. So I like Matt Berry. It just, you know, looking at the organizations that you came from, Kansas City, Green Bay, kind of tickled my fancy a little bit more than the Seattle Seahawks. But I would be happy with Matt Berry as well. He truly is one of those college scouting gurus that would fit the position very well. So Thomas Dimitroff, Ed Dodds, Matt Berry, Ian Cunningham, those are the four names I would be happy about. Now it's time to talk about the candidates that I wouldn't be as happy about. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays. Of course, they have money line, spread, over, under, player props, and so much more. Make sure that you check out FanDuel this week. It was so much fun betting on the playoff games. I just absolutely love it. Can't wait to do it next weekend as well. If you are ready for it as well, you need to go to FanDuel.com, join today, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. Again, that's $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We're doing hype, happy, and hate for the general manager candidates that have interviewed with the Titans or been requested for an interview with the Titans already. We went through my hype: John Eric Sullivan, Mike Borgonzi, Terrence Gray, John Spytek. My happy: Thomas Dimitroff, Ian Cunningham, Matt Berry, Ed Dodds. Now I want to get into my tier 3, which is hate. Hate is a strong word in this scenario. I don't literally hate. Well, you know what? Actually, I would hate these options. No lie. I would absolutely hate them. So I'm going to tell you what they are. Before we get into it, I do want to thank you again for making the Locked On Titans your first to listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL. I'm the lead host of Locked On NFL, so you'd be supporting me as well. But also, it's playoff time. The Titans are obviously gone out. A couple other teams out this weekend now, too. Perfect time to get caught up on all the latest NFL stories. But for my hate list, there's 2 candidates. That's all I have. So I have 4 hype, 4 happy, and 2 hate. And number 1 is Reggie McKenzie. And on Friday, I think it was, the Titans interviewed Reggie McKenzie, and Diana Rossini from The Athletic tweeted out that he's the favorite for the job. Well, listen, I sure hope not. It's like when she tweeted out that Julio Jones to Tennessee was a long shot. And then I don't think it was her, but somebody said that Aaron Glenn from the Detroit Lions, the defensive coordinator, he was the favorite to land the Titans head coaching job. And that was clearly never the case based on what we know now about the process of hiring Brian Callahan. So that wasn't her report. I don't remember who reported that Aaron Glenn was the favorite. Might've been Adam Schefter. I don't know. I don't remember. But either way, the point is these reports can be wrong. And a lot of the times what happens is the agent of that general manager candidate, that executive, tells the reporter, hey, my client interviewed with the Titans. He's one of the favorites. And then the reporter will tweet that out to make other teams. Like, I used to cut trees as a college job. When I came home from college, my cousin owns a landscaping service. He'd cut down trees. I do groundwork and stuff, $100 a day, under the table, stuff like that. Okay. What would happen is we would go knock on a door. I'm classic door knocker. Go knock on a door. Hey, can we cut your tree down? This, that, blah, blah, blah. We start cutting the tree. Next thing you know, neighbors. Hey, can you guys come look at this? Keeping up with the Joneses. When you see other people doing something, it makes it more likely that you'll do it too. Classic herd mentality of human beings. Well, if you tweet out, oh, my general manager candidate is as a favorite for the job, well, that might make other teams want your candidate more. You know what I mean? It's just law of attraction right there. It's as simple as it is. So I hope that Reggie McKenzie isn't the favorite for the Titans general manager job, because I would hate that hire. I would hate that hire. You go look at Reggie McKenzie's history as a general manager with the Raiders for 6 years. Look at some of the draft classes he's had. I don't want to go into detail into all of the classes, but if he gets hired, we're going to have to talk about it, because he has had like 2 or 3 wasted classes, literally, where there isn't a single good, solid player in the class. If you want somebody who's good at projecting players from college to the pros, you do not want to hire Reggie McKenzie. And he's 60 years old. Like, I don't want a dinosaur who's on his way out of the NFL, who wasn't that good as a general manager anyway. You weren't good at the job. Like, at least Thomas Dimitroff was good for a while. The Raiders were terrible with Reggie McKenzie, other than the 1 year where Derek Carr was decent. Like, no way. No, I will be so salty if the Titans hire Reggie McKenzie. It makes no sense. And then the final name is Catherine Hickman, who interviewed with the Titans on Saturday from the Cleveland Browns. She's the assistant general manager, worked her way up from the Canadian Football League, was the vice president of football operations for the Eagles. A ton of experience, but to me, she doesn't have the college scouting background that the Titans are looking for. Also, let me say this, and maybe it's not her fault. You know, it's hard to know how people individually feel about things that teams do. You don't agree with everything that your boss does. You know what I mean? Like, you don't agree unilaterally with everything your boss says, but I don't want anything to do with anyone from Cleveland. Were they involved in the trade for Deshaun Watson? That's what I want to know. Anybody who was on board for trading for Deshaun Watson, I want nothing to do with them. Also, the Browns organization is like the Titans. Mom and pop shop style, dysfunction, infighting, drama, owner control. I don't want to take somebody from a poorly run organization who was involved with trading for Deshaun Watson. I don't want anything to do with that. And again, it's kind of like how I feel about like Ed Dodds and Matt Berry and Ian Cunningham. Like, the Seahawks and the Colts are probably better run than the Bears and the Browns, but like, let's take somebody from an organization that we know is well run. You know what I mean? And the Browns are not. So no offense to Catherine Hickman, but at the end of the day, I just don't want anybody from Cleveland, and that includes Glenn Cook, who was misreported to have an interview request with the Titans, ultimately did not. But like, I'm sorry, if you had anything to do with trading for Deshaun Watson, I don't want anything to do with you. It's kind of that simple to me. But with that being said, that is going to do it for me. Well, let me say a couple of words on Mike Vrabel here. Mike Vrabel hired by the New England Patriots. I tweeted it out, and I believe this. I think both sides could have done better. I know why they did it, obviously, with the history between Mike Vrabel and the Patriots. 3 Super Bowls, decade, career, Hall of Fame career, Ring of Honor, all that stuff. Like, I get why the homecoming makes sense. I'm not shocked in any way that they did it. It makes a ton of sense. However, Mike Vrabel took over a 9-7 football team that had just won a playoff game when he took over as Titans head coach. The Patriots were 4-13 with a bad roster, one of the worst rosters in the NFL. 0 talent out there. Now, they have Drake May. That's great. But anybody else skeptical of how Mike Vrabel will handle a rookie quarterback? And is he going to hire Josh McDaniels as his offensive coordinator or bring back Tim Kelly? Or like, I just do not trust Mike Vrabel to cultivate a good young quarterback. And Mike Vrabel is like a good driver who, if his pit makes him the best car in the field, he's going to drive that car to the victory. But Mike Vrabel isn't a good mechanic himself in building a roster and developing young players. Like, I think Mike Vrabel made a lot more sense for like the Chicago Bears. You know what I mean? Like, they have a better roster than the Patriots. Again, you worry about a young quarterback with Mike Vrabel, but like, I guess just a team. Like, I think Mike Vrabel would have been a best fit was Jacksonville, realistically. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't trust Mike Vrabel with the circumstance that the Patriots are in. So I think in the Patriots, I think getting Ben Johnson would have been a better option for the New England Patriots. Somebody who can cultivate that young quarterback. If the Patriots turn it around quickly, it's because Drake May is incredible, and supporting him in every way possible should be their goal. And I don't think that the hire of Mike Vrabel supports Drake May in the proper way. So I am skeptical of Mike Vrabel's success possibilities in New England. But with that being said, that is going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.